And Taylor, we are skipping around. This is the stuff on pages 193 and 194. The activity, the only one that you have to do for today will be on page 195, 7.8. I skipped the previous section because it's long and we have a 30-minute class period today. All right, so we have 3 moods in the English language. The one by far and away used the most often is the indicative mood, and it does just what this word says, the root word, it indicates things, okay? This is the kind of mood that you see in most declarative sentences. In interrogative sentences, it is indicating a question, or they are indicating a question, okay? And also in exclamatory sentences, because you are exclaiming, you are still indicating an exclamation. Okay? So it includes all 3 of these. Not all of these, okay? This would always be, okay? This would always be, interrogative would always be indicative, okay? Exclamatory would generally be indicative. Most declarative sentences are indicative, but we're going to talk about another one that some declarative sentences are in just a moment. But this is the one that you're used to seeing the most, okay? It indicates something is going on or something is being said. All right? Questioned, whatever, exclaimed. The next one that is used in the next order of how often it's used, and you are very familiar with this one as well, is the imperative voice. Okay? And this is so easy because the imperative voice of the verb is the same as if you are doing an imperative sentence that you would label imperative. It is giving a command or it's making a request. All right? Not a question, okay? Not would you do this, but please help with the dishes. That's imperative. That's your polite request. Or a command. Get out of the way before you get hit, or whatever. For imperative mood sentences, just like with an imperative type of sentence that you label, the subject should always be understood you. Commands or requests. Imperative. Okay? Now we have the one that is a little more elusive. We don't see it as much. It used to be used more than it is today, but it is still used today and should be used more often than it is because a lot of people do not do this correctly. Okay? There is a reason the most popular example of the subjunctive, okay, that I can think of, you do not say, let me write the word subjunctive here. Okay? This shows, let me give you definition, then I'll give you the example. Subjunctive is when the writer, the person doing the sentence or the speaker, when the writer or speaker knows, that's our important word here, okay? Knows that which is being said is contrary to fact. You know it's not true. Okay, this could be future, this could be present, all right? Not generally past. Here's an example. Normally, I singular. Normally, if we're doing indicative, past, we say was, right? In fact, you say, but Ms. Shoemate, that's plural. Yeah, because it's subjunctive. I know I'm not you. Another example would be if I were a millionaire. Not if I was a millionaire, because you know you're not. And if your parents have that much money and you know it, I'd keep it to myself. That's awesome. Okay, I don't know that anybody in here has that kind of money. Maybe. Not you yourself, but your family. Okay, but in subjunctive is knowing that it's not true. If you are not sure if what you're saying is true or not, you don't use subjunctive, you use indicative. Okay? Other words that are used with subjunctive. Words like would, could, should. Okay? If, here's a past one. I said it's not used as often in the past, but it can be. If he would have been here, he could have saved himself a lot of trouble. And I know I've run out of room, but that's okay. Okay? If he would have been here, he could have. This is subjunctive. If we knew we know he wasn't here. If we're not sure, you would say something like, if he was here, he might have. Okay? If he was here, not would have been. Okay? Because here we know he wasn't. All right? Look at some more examples with me in the book really fast, okay? We know it's untrue. If this suitcase were brand new, okay, just like we have on the board. Suitcase is singular, right? But subjunctive uses the plural verb were. It probably would be expensive. If Marcia had come with us, if he were coming, then I would be happy to go. Okay? Here's if we're not sure. If he is coming, then I will be happy to go. If he comes, then I will be happy to go. Turn the page. If you are doing future only, you may use subjunctive if it's doubtful. Okay? But you still want to use would, could, should. Okay? If they were to arrive here by 10 a.m., we don't know if they will. Future's the only one where you can be doubtful because it's future and nobody knows the future, right? If he were to arrive. If they came tomorrow, we would not, there's that would again, be ready. If they would come tomorrow, these are all subjunctive, we would not be ready. But if they come tomorrow, that's just indicative. All right? Obligation or recommendation. Okay, here's that word be. You know how we talk about the forms of be, and we say am, is, are, was, were, etc. Okay, and that be in indicative, most of the time this word does not get used by itself. Right? It's a helping verb. All of these others, am, is, are, was, and were, they are helping verbs, but they're very often used as their own words by themselves as verbs, as linking verbs, right? Not that one. Usually that's helping something, right? But if we're using subjunctive mood, it would be by itself. Look at this. It is necessary that he be at the rehearsal on time. It hasn't happened yet, but we're saying it's got to happen. His father recommends, it's an expression of obligation. His father recommends, not that he takes, which would normally be the case because both would be singular, that he take speech class. The president insists, again, that word be, that we be ready for an emergency. Hasn't happened yet, but it's an obligation. All right, and finally, this is indicative though. Are. The president insists that we are ready for an emergency. Okay? Let's do 1 through 3 together on 7-8. Keep taping me, and then we'll stop. How much battery I got?
4%.
Okay, we can do 3 sentences. All right, and then I'll plug her up. Number 1. In the morning sunlight, Pete restlessly paced up and down the hotel steps and looked out at the English Channel. Okay, paced. Paced, past tense. He did it. Is this indicative, subjunctive, or imperative? It is indicative. It's past tense, but it's indicative. It happened. We know it happened. Okay? Number 2. Once more, he tapped on the door of his sister's room and said, Eileen, please check in your suitcase again for those tickets. Sam?
Is imperative.
This is imperative. Subject's not Eileen, that's your noun of direct address. It's you. You do this. It's a request. Imperative. Number 3, if they had checked for their ferry tickets the night before, they would have found the tickets and spared themselves a frantic morning. Zane? That is subjunctive. Because they didn't. Because they had the frantic morning. We know they didn't check because they had the frantic morning looking for it. That's subjunctive. Okay, you know it didn't happen. All right? You guys are going to do 4 through 10. Okay, I will tell you out of the remaining 7, there's only 1 imperative, which means 6 of them are either subjunctive or indicative. 1 imperative out of 4 through 10. Bye, Taylor.